And now we come to our next panel. It will be moderated by Mayan Hoffman, news editor of the Jerusalem Post. Here we're going to focus specifically on Israeli technology and future sustainable solutions. Our panelists are going to highlight Israel's commitment to cooperation and, of course, collaboration, so crucial with developed and developing countries. We'll basically be talking about solutions for the future of our world and our societies. These encompass all essential technologies such as water, sanitation, food, of course, the crucial agriculture, and so much more. The panel will discuss the latest pioneering Israeli technology that's pushing boundaries and accelerating sustainable solutions. Participating in the panel right now, we welcome Ofir Ardon, CEO of Agritask, Zach Fenster, VP of Business Development, WaterGen, and Meggy Avikasis, VP Commercial Landscaping, Vertical Field.
So it's very exciting to be here today to talk about Israeli technology and future sustainable solutions. We have with us Meggy, Zach, and Ofir. So I want to get us started by just talking about the core challenges of our world today in terms of sustainable solutions. Meggy, let's start with you. What are some of those challenges?
Well, I think we have a lot of problems like global warming, we have greenhouse gas, resource depletion, toxic chemicals that we use and we pollute the water and the soil, water crisis, urbanization, food waste, food insecurity. I can go on and on. You remember the pandemic? It's a little problem, but I think all of this causes us a very toxic environment that I'm not so surprised why COVID just came.
Wow.
And I'm not sure that it is the last one.
It's very scary when we talk about core challenges. We just listed so many that it seems like we don't have a core challenge, but we actually have a number of challenges in facing our environment. Zach, what do you think about that question?
You know, I think COVID has really exposed to us, more broadly speaking, that what we most fundamentally took for granted really shouldn't be taken for granted, right? Who would have thought that a year ago there would be a run on the supermarkets and there wouldn't be any toilet paper, right? So I think we as human beings have been forced to confront a situation where our most basic resources that we need in order to survive and thrive can't be taken for granted. So from my perspective at WaterGen, the most basic resource that human beings need in order to survive and thrive is water. And so the challenge that's most important for us to tackle as we enter this new post-COVID world is definitely the drinking water crisis.
So, you know, it's interesting. I wanted to talk about some of the Israeli innovations that are accelerating solutions for sustainability. You mentioned your company, WaterGen. Tell us a little bit about that solution.
Sure. So WaterGen is the global leader in creating drinking water from the air. It sounds like science fiction, but it is quite real. WaterGen is currently present and active in more than 80 countries around the world, on all continents except for Antarctica, where there aren't many people, so water is less of an issue. And the company is really motivated and led by the vision of the owner and president, Mr. Michael Mirilashvili, who has set out to using WaterGen's technology and solutions to completely solve the global drinking water crisis.
Amazing. Now, Ofir, I want to go to you because your company is actually doing some extremely innovative things also in terms of agricultural solutions. Tell us about what your company is doing.
Okay, Agritask is a provider of software, basically for precision agriculture and for agronomic management. And we provide our solutions mostly to farmers and their respective ecosystem around them to enable them to work together as a unified ecosystem, and like that to improve the productivity and to significantly reduce the risk. Let's call it the risk of bringing food to our plates at the end of the day.
And then I'm assuming that increases the amount of food we can bring to our plates. And is that true?
Well, of course, for starters, and not just for now, but also for the upcoming years. If you look 30 years down the road, you'll need close to twice of what you need today. And when you look at that, you say, okay, I have to keep this chain sustainable. And suddenly you see COVID coming in, and COVID is disrupting everything in terms of, can people work? Can people go to the fields? Can the ecosystem barge in and help? People need to stay at home suddenly, and it's like, you know, it's tampering with this very delicate ecosystem. And beyond that, you have most of the farmers in the world today live very close to poverty. And if something is getting screwed on the way, some of them can go below poverty, and this tampers with the sustainability of this entire food chain.
Right, I'm sure that all the things that you talked about, climate change, et cetera, can also impact the ability to produce those crops. Let's go to you. I've seen some incredible pictures of the work that you do with vertical fields. Tell us what that is.
Okay, vertical field works in two segments. First is the landscaping, vertical landscaping, and the other one is urban farming. Our mission is practically to save nature in the city near us. We as a species exist for 200,000 years, but we live in the cities only for the last 6,000 years. So in our DNA, we are connected to nature. So nature needs to stay with us, but with all the density inside the city, when you build so close to each building, close to one another, and there are no trees, no parks. Okay, so what we are bringing to the world, okay, is vertical landscaping. We are literally climbing on the walls, and we put there real plants. Okay, and for the urban farming, we grow the food near the point that you consume it. Okay, so it's fresh, it's freshly picked. You pick it now. You buy it from the supermarket within an hour or two, okay, and the live shelf takes for about 10 to 14 days. Instead of you buying this lettuce, for instance, okay, that it is already, when you buy it, it is already 7 days old.
Right, lost a lot of the nutrients that way, of course. So Israel, as we can hear around this table, is really at the height of this, of creating innovation and some of these solutions for sustainability. Why do you think that is? Why is Israel a leader in the field of technological innovation, and specifically in this area? Ofir, let's start with you on that one.
Why? I think it's, what else do we have to do? We don't have natural resources, don't we?
Right.
We constantly live in very unique challenges. Us being unique, it's like living in an island. Up until recently, nobody around us was willing to even talk to us. So basically, putting us like under pressure in an island that needs to somehow sustain itself, you see innovation eventually, like no other place in the world has. I think this is like the root cause of it. Some of it is probably related to the defense, the army, that also there you need to develop some type of innovation. It's in your nature. And I'm guessing, a lot of the people that start startups are usually fresh out of, army or just a little bit after that. So I'm guessing this has a lot to do with it as well.
Amazing. Now, Zach, you came to Israel from New York, you said. So from a outside and now inside perspective, why is Israel so good at this?
Well, I think in water specifically, obviously, necessity was a huge part of it. Israel was created at a time when it was a water-poor country, and many of the early sort of geopolitical conflicts that Israel was engaged in was around water. And Israel, both in agriculture and in water consumption, right, drip irrigation, desalination, etc., Israel's been a leader in pushing the frontier of water innovation forward. So we believe, and WaterGen, for example, was chosen by Israel's Ministry of Economy as one of the state of Israel's most innovative solutions created in the history of the state. So I think that WaterGen is sort of the current point at that spear of Israeli water innovation more broadly, and is really sort of standing on the shoulders of those previous water innovations that were created and moving forward. Plus, water in the Bible is obviously such a critical and important theme. So it's only natural, I think, that it's in our national consciousness and imagination.
Amazing. So I know that some of you are already working internationally, working with various countries, and I'm interested to hear how you are working with different countries and what are some of the ways that you think you could better get the technologies you are working with out to the rest of the world. Maybe actually, Maggie, why don't you take that?
We just started.
You just started?
We just started with the Emirates, with the United States. Okay, we have 2 containers, urban farms in New York.
Amazing.
And we are in the first steps of going national, international.
What do you think you would need to better go international? How could that happen?
What we discovered is the regulation out overseas is better than here in Israel. So it will help us. Bring our urban farms into the cities there. In places like Africa or even the Emirates doesn't have any agriculture at all. So they cannot grow anything, it's a desert. So we can come to them, this is what we're doing right now, and bring our containers there and they can grow food in the desert.
That's actually an incredible thing. You know, making the flower, the desert bloom is something that we do here in Israel.